I'm like, drive by, I don't want to see it. And I love that
She'll
patio.
probably raise the question.
I need to get
This
my
is
car.
the first read, the amended one, the second read, actually it's the third read. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
White man.
Tori? Not necessary, please. Thank you. All right, nice to have a good crowd tonight. Thanks for coming, everybody. We'll start with the district vision and mission statement. Greene County Schools is promoting lifelong learning through real-world experiences. Please call the roll and we'll establish a quorum.
Davidic. Here. Fields.
Here.
McConnell.
Here.
Silva.
Here.
Fisher.
Here. Okay, approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Motion by Bonnie, seconded by Cindy. Please call the roll.
Fields.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Davidic.
Aye.
Silva.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye. All right, number 6, we will have open a public hearing to review the certified budget for 2022-2023. Public hearing is open. Is there any comment from the public?
Again, just to reiterate, we're proposing $14.42 per thousand for next year. This year is $14.55, so it'll be down 13 cents per thousand.
Makes you feel good to win just 15.26.
Yeah.
Saw that. Would anyone else like to comment? Close the public hearing. For a motion to approve it.
I'll move to approve the 22-23 certified budget. I'll second.
Okay, moved by Michelle, seconded by Cindy. Please call the roll.
Silva.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Davidic.
Aye.
Fields.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye. Okay, now we're going to have a second public hearing for the amended certified budget for 2021-2022. Open a public hearing for that. And any comments?
Just asking to amend the budget. We've got additional federal funds for COVID that we've been spending, and then also looking at upgrading some kitchen equipment as well.
So the ESSER, anything that's ESSER, that's not, that's above and beyond.
Yeah, we've got to spend the money, and then we can then we
Oh, no,
apply.
reimburse for it.
Reimbursement,
Okay.
yes.
Any other questions or comments from the public? If not, close the public hearing. Entertain a motion to approve it.
I'll move to approve the amended certified budget for 21-22.
Second.
Moved by Michelle, seconded by John to approve the 21-22 amended budget. Please call the roll.
Davidic.
Aye.
Silva.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Fields.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye. All right, open forum. It's time for anyone here to communicate with the board about anything not on the agenda. Yes,
I would.
please, yes, say your name, please.
My name is Heather Rosiska.
Okay.
I've been part of this district going on about 16 years now. I've had kids in school here the past 16 years. I graduated 3 boys so far. One was a valedictorian, one was a senior class president. We all graduated with 30 or more college graduates. My 2 oldest graduated was actually closer to 50. My son Brinley right now is a sophomore at the high school. Right now, I understand that communication between the district and parents needs to get better. I feel very strongly about this communication and the lack of it. But I want to help you understand a little bit of what parents are up against. And this is not, I get that there's bylaws and all that other stuff that goes on with this kind of thing. But a couple weeks ago, my son, who is a sophomore, brought me a story that is in a whole nother committee. Not gonna bring it up here, but I do have the story, and I think all of the board members need to read it. That being said, I want you to understand my path. A couple weeks ago, he came home, handed me the story, and said, Mom, just read it. Will you just read this for me? I just don't want to read it. I said, you know what? It's for school. Your teacher told you to read it, you're gonna read it. But I sat down and read it. I then spent the next several hours explaining to my son that, no, this wasn't gonna happen. So I emailed the teacher because I wanted to understand where she was coming from. I'm gonna give every teacher that my boys have, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. You deserve that. Teaching isn't easy, I know. I emailed the teacher, copied in the administration, and asked why the content was being used. I was answered with an email. I included that my son was extremely uncomfortable. I was included, the email came back and said, she's used it for a lot of years, and what he can be exposed to on social media, this story didn't even start to touch. I answered it back very nicely. I have a copy of those emails if the board would like to see them. I then was contacted by someone else in the district that told me to call the superintendent's office, to fill out these forms, to get my ducks in a row, and to get on your agenda. I did all that. I didn't pull my son out of class. He was not allowed to disrespect her. He was to do his homework, which none of has been checked so far since we've had contact. I filled out all the documents. I got all my T's crossed, all my I's dotted, and I got it in to on Friday, which really only emails go out on Friday, seems like here, that I was no longer on the agenda, and I need 500 signatures to be on your agenda. 500 signatures. Now, right now, you're blessed with one very nervous, very upset parent. I'm not going to pull him out of school. He deserves to graduate from this school with his friends. But you guys as a board deserve to be at least updated on what we find as parents. Every wall, every hurdle I've jumped over, everything I've done, somebody else puts a roadblock in front of me. Somebody else does it. I didn't even go to people in this community until I had already contacted 2 college professors, 2 retired college professors, a literature college professor, 2 published authors, and said, help me understand. Help me understand why, because social media is so apparent. And I'm not the first, I'm sure everybody gets social media, but I'll guarantee you, you can look at Bryn's phone. He's got parameters. And if I find out that those are not met and he's gone around me, he's not gonna have a phone. I am that strict parent. I am that parent that makes their kid stay at school when everybody else is letting their kids go. The lunch hour, my kid's at school. He doesn't want to go to the job fair, whatever the fair is. Too bad. Your school thinks it's important, you're going to it. He's never been in trouble. He's one of the nicest, politest kids. But I have a teacher who does not care where boundaries are. And if you guys as a board are fine with that, I need to know that as a parent. Because if you guys aren't going to make sure that our teachers have boundaries, my child is not going to stay here. If you want the story, I have copies of the story. If you want to talk to me at any point in time, please just ask. But I'm now meeting with another board to try to solve this problem. I don't believe this problem will be solved. And I think that's a huge breakdown between a school and a parent. Thank you.
We're not supposed to comment, Heather.
I know,
now,
yeah,
So we've heard you.
thank you.
You're aware of the grievance policy?
Yeah, and I've done all that. I have to have 500 signatures to get on your agenda. And if I
Is that
will
true?
honestly
No.
say, I don't want to share this story with 500 other people.
I don't think you do.
It's
have to.
fine.
Yeah, you're-
Or 10%.
Or 10%,
Yeah,
but it's
and-
still a
and-
lot of.
And I did, I checked all this stuff out, just to make sure that these weren't just Jefferson games. I did, but I'm gonna tell you straight up, if I have 500 people read this story, not only am I not okay in my own skin, but you're gonna have 500 angry people in this boardroom. That I'm positive of.
Okay. Well,
So the 500 signatures,
yeah,
I don't know, I get that that's a law that's been passed or whatever. But to tell a parent that you need 500 signatures before you can address a subject? Seriously? I mean, 500? You guys didn't need 500 to get on the board.
It's 10% of the last election voters.
Or 500.
Yeah,
That's just the law.
And I'm telling you, it's in the bylaws.
Mhm.
It is, it's written down. I checked, just to make sure it wasn't just one more made up hurdle.
okay. Yeah. That's all we can do right
Yeah.
now. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, anybody else? All right. Consent items, number 8. Any comments, questions on consent items?
The teachers that have multiple roles, they're just resigning from that role.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Do you have a motion to approve?
So move. I'll second that.
Okay, a motion by Cindy, seconded by Michelle. Please call the roll.
McConnell.
Aye.
Silva.
Aye.
Fields.
Aye.
Stoneman.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye. All right. Second reading of Board Policy 505.5 on graduation requirements.
And again, we've looked at this 2 or 3 times. Technically, I would say this is probably the first reading of this particular iteration of it. To me, if you feel comfortable with it, it would be a matter of waiving the second reading. But I think we've caught all of the changes that we need to make. I don't know if anybody has any questions about it. Again, this would be 50 credits for graduation.
So can I put that all in one motion to say,
Yes.
to approve the policy and waive the second reading? That's what I'd like to do.
She, so does that mean you did it?
I get it. I'll second your motion.
All right, we have a motion by Michelle, seconded by Bonnie to waive the second reading of 505.5 and to approve it. Please call the roll.
Dominic. Aye. McConnell.
Aye.
Silva.
Aye.
Fisher. No,
Aye.
Fields and Fisher. Fields.
Fields, aye.
Fisher.
Aye. All right, we'll go to reports and presentations.
No, video scoreboard.
Oh, excuse me, video scoreboard purchase, Greene County partially funded.
I'm sitting right there. We received $100,000 from Greene County. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Got a couple members in here for video scoreboard. Mr. Gordon is working on additional fundraising for the remainder. Total cost is $147. So working on that, but would like board approval to move forward with the purchase of that scoreboard.
With the potential of having additional funds. Is that correct? I would make that motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the video scoreboard purchase using the Greene County grant funds.
And additional.
and additional funding. Please call the roll.
Fields.
Aye.
Silva.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Benedict. Aye. Fisher.
Okay, now reports and presentations. Student construction program. Kirk.
Kirk is here. We've had a lot of conversations. We would like to get back to building a schoolhouse. Obviously, the cost is what is a concern. So we're kind of having discussions and want to put this in front of you, not for a decision tonight, but hopefully in May, whether that's something that we'll move forward with or not. But
Okay, so we started talking through this process earlier. The school district's done, I think we figured up, it's like 26 student-built houses over the years. I happened to be on one of them 2 years ago, and it happened to be the year that COVID hit. So obviously not ideal scenario, situation. But I really think it's important that we get back to that point. Probably curriculum wise, I think Tim said it best, is without a doubt, it's definitely the way to go. Just because there's so many trades that the kids get to be involved with in a student built house. Probably not the biggest hang up right now is what materials cost. If you try to price a house right now or price a new addition, new construction, it's ridiculous right now. But it is what it is right now, and everybody I talk to that I hear, it doesn't sound like anything's going down. So I don't know if that's just the way that we're gonna live in right now. But what we've kind of put together some plans. We're probably way further ahead than we've been in the past, I guess. If we're able to do this, I'd like to be able to break ground in August and get the basement and the footings poured. So that's all done, so the kids can come on site right away when school starts, so we can start framing up basement walls and move along a little quicker. We've reached out to a few people if they're interested in a purchase agreement setting. We've had a little response to that.
Yeah,
Tim knows
I put out a general email to just staff saying that we wanted to do this, and probably got 2 or 3 responses from staff and 2 or 3 that forwarded on. So another 2 to 3 responses from community members. So just as a general, because obviously it would be nice to build something knowing that we have a buyer up front. So
I didn't have a final prints until Monday. So I don't have a complete estimates yet. I've still got some concrete contractors putting together some things. I did get the wall bid just a few minutes ago. That's another 40,000 right there.
Your drywall.
Drywall will be pretty minimal probably because it's just finish work. It's mud and tape. We'll hang our own drywall. And we'll actually mud and tape the garage probably, depending on how many kids I have. If I can do more, I'll do more, but you don't want to have kids spending days and days doing drywall work. So, or mud and tape, finish work. We've already experienced that my first year. So we had a lot of surface area when we did apartments above the square. So, so probably the next added big expense is going to be flat work that we don't see here. So I've already added up the wall forms or the wall work. I'm already at 250,000 for this house. And we don't even have flat work in there yet. This isn't a big house, but it's not super tiny. Indian Hills does, at the community college, they do builds for Region 12. Tim's reached out to them. They won't let us do that for them because we have high school labor. But Indian Hills takes $10,000 every house they build. So that's the only chunk that they're getting out of every house they build. So it just cycles back into their program and works that way. So we're not trying to do this for a ton of profit, obviously. But we can't do it for free either, because we got to be able to put some tools and equipment back in our programs. So, but depending on where we're at financially, if we get a bite with somebody, that would be ideal, obviously. But I think it's a really important program. That's kind of the reason why I came to this district. So, and we do have a career academy, and I think it'd be a good staple to say, hey, we're back to building houses, and we could maybe draw with it. So,
Is there a lot selected? I mean, we don't even know where it's at, but.
For this particular one, we have one. I mean, we can move it, but right now we've just picked a spot in Briarwood just because we thought for the amount of money that you're going to have to ask for this house, no matter what you build, you're going to have to put it in a desirable location.
Yep.
And that seems to be pretty desirable right now. So
My question I've always kind of had this question with building houses. Instead of offering it at such a reduced rate, you need to stay close to market value.
right,
And
yeah,
I know we're doing this for class,
yeah,
but if you're gonna stay close to market value, it's hard on guys like us.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
they're trying to build houses for a living.
yeah.
Mhm.
I know.
Because then somebody comes to town like, oh, I'll just wait till next year to have the school build it.
Yeah,
That's not fair to guys like me.
Right.
I love the program, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But we gotta find that sweet
Yeah.
spot between not too cheap and give them
Yeah.
a little bit of a discount.
and that's what I was, that's why I wanted to find out what Indian Hills was taking
Sure,
for their cut. Whether, I don't know if that's reasonable or not, but
sure.
Probably
How's
not.
how's our money line in that program currently?
Indian
Is
Hills,
there any, but no, in our
Oh, current.
construction
They've
plan.
got
Oh.
over 150 in there.
So we've got money to start with.
They've got startup costs.
Well, wouldn't you want to sell it as high as you could, Kurt?
oh, absolutely, yeah, I'm not saying that, I just look at, when I sit there and when I'm saying, okay, general contractor rate right now is about $300 a square foot. And I look at, my mind can't wrap around it yet, so, but you probably can because you have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So, and apparently there's customers out there that are not afraid to do it either because everybody's swamped. So that's,
Nobody cares what it costs to borrow money anymore. They just want to keep going. And
That could change.
I realize that.
we've been trying to build a house for 2 years, and I have one customer that says, I'm not spending $50-some a sheet of plywood. I'll just wait. So that's fine.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't have that attitude. They're just like, I want it, let's do it. So, but no, I think it's a great program. How big is this house?
Just a little under 1,400 square feet.
This year, yeah.
It's a little bit smaller than the last one we built.
Okay. It looks comparable to that.
Yep,
Layout and everything.
Yep.
you had over there.
similar, yeah. Pretty open floor plan. I mean, and we can flex that a little bit, but
Got good interest in the class.
what's
Got
that?
good interest in the class.
Just initially, we had 3 juniors I know of that went right away and got signed up through the Career Academy. But we just did that career presentation or whatever, secondary
College fairs.
yeah, so we just did that, and Teresa Greene talked to every student basically about how the Career Academy was set up, what are their options. And we just did a preliminary, and I mean very preliminary, student sign up, and I haven't heard what those numbers are. So, I mean, I think if we build a house, it's silly to say, but if we build it, there's going to be more come over and say, hey, that sounds like something I'd like to do. I think our numbers have been down because, hey, we're not building a house. So I think our numbers would go up some. And I don't need 15 kids either. I mean, some people say, oh, 15 kids, you can have them do that. You know, that's a lot of balls to juggle.
Schoolhouse need about 9.
Yeah, that'd be no part. Yeah. Be a lot better.
You control,
Cool.
couple smaller groups that way.
But just want to present that, think about that. If you've got questions, we'll gather more information, pricing, probably maybe reach out to some of the people who have expressed some interest. To kind of talk prices with them to see what the interest continues to be, but probably bring it back in May and probably look for a decision, yea or nay from the board. Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item B under new business is finalize the superintendent contract.
Do you want to?
Oh, excuse me, I jumped clear down.
School
School permits are gone. Yeah.
Board committee reports.
I was able to eat at the high school. That was nice. Overall, I was much more impressed. It was better than my high school lunchroom. Much more quiet. It was a very nice, facility. Got a tour of the kitchen too. Kids were great. So it was a good experience. Thank you.
Anybody else? I had lunch at the elementary a week ago Monday and had a really good experience. Got to visit with our incoming principal for quite a while. Impressed by her, so that should be good. I also went to the Greene County Awards Banquet last week and helped accept quite a bit of money for the school system, so that was really good. And you want to talk about the administrative and classified staff meeting we had? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was really brief, but
Yeah.
Steve, Tim, and I met and discussed the
Proposals for
raises for the administrators and I forget
classified
staff. Yeah, that we will be talking about under item C in new business.
Right. All right, thanks. Administrators reports.
Mr. Johnson.
We've completed the conditions of learning survey. That's an annual survey that they start taking in 3rd grade, just kind of looking at opinions of how they feel at school, safety, those kinds of things like that. ISAS testing this week. Mrs. Sandberg's happy we're almost done. So kids are doing really well with that. So got one more test to do tomorrow. PK desk audit was approved. So that's always a load off your plate. And it's one of those things. And then we had pre-K registration last week, and we have right now 80 pre-K students registered.
Is that about typical where you're at for this time of year?
Yeah, about typical. So we'll get a few more in. So I'm guessing we'll probably be around 90 pre-Kers next year. So good numbers.
What is a pre-K desk audit?
The pre-K desk audit is they give you 10 items that you look at that are occurring in the preschool setting. And it's kind of looking at how is the administrator making sure that things are being done within the program, because it's a grant application, it's a grant program. So the federals do it. Like one of them is you have to, that over 50% of the staff in pre-K have to have pediatric first aid CPR. And so how do I ensure that they're doing pediatric first aid CPR, keeping that up? The handbook, they give us, there's a handbook, they say, okay, what we want you to make sure these parts of the handbook are being done this year. So that's kind of what it is. It's just kind of a.
It's the Department of Education that.
Yes,
Conducts
Department of
it.
Ed.
It's
Department
a
of Ed.
replacement for the site visits that
Yeah.
they used to do. They used to come on site and check to make sure you were meeting all the guidelines. And now instead of doing that, they just have you upload certain documents and evidence every year to show that you're doing the things that they used to check in person.
people hear audit and it's usually negative. It's really just a thing that happens every year.
It happens every year,
Okay.
and fortunately, right now, they said for this particular audit, they're going to kind of try to keep the same items for 3 to 4 years, because it's probably 40 to 50 hours of work gathering all the information and putting it in, and then going back and making corrections that they ask for. So it's a quite involved process.
Glad it's done then.
Yes.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes, good evening. Want to thank people who were able to make some time yesterday, despite the weather infringement on the end of the day, to join us for our family spring fling. We had a lot of fun. I think those who were able to join us, and thanks for that. Lots of different games and events, social coloring. I think there was definitely some dodgeball, yeah, some of that. So they had a good time. More traditional parent-teacher conference night tomorrow night. From 4 to 7:30. There's still time to register. Anybody out there, myconferencetime.com can get sessions. I wanted to highlight that next Wednesday, the 20th, we are going to be hosting a mental health and wellness fair. And that was, I think, mostly from the district wellness committee, but then we had a group of staff, teachers internally who really took it and ran it, did a great job organizing it. Lindsay Fenley, who is a former player at Iowa State and who speaks in a lot of different arenas on mental health, will be our keynote. We will have 7th and 8th grade sessions and then 5th and 6th grade sessions, so they'll be a little bit different. We also have a number of really good egg local providers who are coming in and sharing their knowledge too with our kids. Some of the topics: healthy relationships, grit always lets you win, social media safety, dealing with stress, the power of positive thinking. We have some yoga, don't let others steal your dreams, dealing with loss, positive leadership, technology addiction, how what we put into our body affects us, and then talking about mental health, make it okay. So I think some really good topics. You only have a limited amount of time and space, and you can't have them do 15 different presentations. So that's the downside, is that kids have to pick a couple. But I think the ones they attend will be really good. And then, as Mr. Johnson mentioned, we have our Conditions for Learning survey. That's going to start next week with our 5th and 6th graders, and then the following week with 7th and 8th. And I administer that in our building.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
Had a very successful prom last Saturday, so that was really good turnout. I'd like to thank Mrs. Carmen, Mrs. Vargas, and Mrs. Garnett for that. It worked out well to do the showcase in the auditorium where the kids ran a march, so to speak. That worked out well in there. It's always kind of a trial and tribulation with the weather. It's kind of rainy and be cold, but that seemed to work out really good. There's a huge attendance for that, so pretty popular. On our second posting for a science teacher, put a tremendous amount of work trying to find a science teacher. Haven't found one yet. It's just hard to fill some of these positions. And its education it's a tough go to find good teachers. Like to thank Mrs. Crichton for doing the college fair and the career academy thing that we did last Wednesday. I thought it went really well. I'd like to thank parents that made their kids attend, because sometimes they don't know what they don't know. And there's a lot of good feedback, even from the kids after they went to it. Because sometimes they think they know it all, and we forbid teenagers think they know it all. But it was really, really well done, and she put a tremendous amount of work into that. Mrs. Greene's done a lot of things with the Career Academy. Last week, I think we had like 20 students and a few staff members from Woodward Granger visit the Ram restaurant just to see what we have, and they were very, very impressed. That's kind of a long haul, but we do send kids to Woodward Academy. So if we could, pull any of those kids and get them interested. Again, they don't know what they don't know, but when they see what we have, a real live functioning restaurant, most of those kids are just blown away by that. I think she met with John Deere, some representatives from John Deere today, and New Way for welding apprenticeship. So she's doing a lot of things. I know I'm missing a lot of things with the Career Academy, but she's doing a tremendous job with that. Speaking of Miss Greene, I know that the interior design class with Mrs. Kennedy is working on her office to do some painting and maybe some recovering of furniture, and working with the art department for some art displays. So the kids are getting direct real world application, and she's open to that. So that's kind of a good thing for our kids to be exposed to that. That's all I have. Thanks.
Mrs. Sandberg?
As Scott mentioned, I've been really busy with ISAS, Iowa Statewide Assessment of State Student Progress. We started the last week of March at the high school building, and they're still working on some makeups for kiddos that missed different times. The middle school tested last week, and they're working on makeups now, and then the elementary is testing this week. After our first little snafu, day one, everything has gone really smoothly. And that was something that couldn't have been stopped, but it's going well. And so hopefully by the time we have the next board meeting, I'll have some data to share with you, because we will get initial reports back once I stop all sessions. So we've got makeups done, we get data back within a couple of weeks. So hopefully by the next board meeting, I'll have some initial data to show how that is. And I just wanted to take a minute to thank the board for your time, energy, and diligence in the new superintendent search. I know that took a lot of time and a lot of gathering of data and conversations. And so thank you for the time that you put into that. I'm excited about next year.
Mrs. Nick?
Yeah, I'm on the same boat as Karen, but I went around to a lot of the classrooms and the grade levels and talked to them about the importance of the Iowa assessments and what it means to not only them, but also the teachers and the district, and try to make that clear of why they're important and why we want them to do their best and to show how smart they are.
You did well, because my son came home and said, I need to go to bed early tonight. I'm like, not a problem.
I may have got too far.
Not at all. And he was all excited. I was like, yep.
They're all working really hard. So I'm proud of everybody.
Thank you. Mrs. Hino?
Same with testing. It kind of takes all the village of us so just making up tests and encouraging kids and patting their back when they need it and filling their water bottle. I think I did that. Anyway, so I've been spending some time in pre-K, actually getting to know a little bit about what goes on in pre-K. That's an area that I'm going to grow a lot as an administrator. So learning the kids' names, they'll be kindergartners next year. So I've been in pre-K a lot and was part of pre-K roundup. That was a good experience. And having interviews for teachers for a fourth grade position. So it's kind of what I've been doing.
Thank you. Mr. Gordon?
Well, we are trying to get some momentum going for spring sports. You're to the point now where you just kind of go and you are weather ready. Hoping to be 1 for 3 on home track meets. We have our home track meet Ram relays on Monday. It'll be a little chilly, but I think we're going to do it. We need to do it. And state qualifying track is 4 weeks from today. So we got to get busy. Baseball, softball start in 2.5 weeks. Softball in 3.5 weeks, baseball 2.5 weeks. So we're just hanging on and trying to enjoy the ride.
Thank you. Mr. DeMoss, Mr. Snowgren, Mr.
Got switching from snow to grass and maybe too early with the weather we've been having. A lot of things happening as far as getting prepped and ready for spring. We have a bus inspection coming this week, which our buses are inspected twice a year, and there's an inspector and usually 2 state troopers that go through our buses that make sure that they meet the requirements that are put out there for safe transportation. So that's kind of involved a lot of this week where there's a lot of paperwork that goes along with that, along with, the constant maintenance that Robert and Adam do on the buses as well. So that'll be on Friday. It's tough in the district that we have where we have to limit the vehicles that morning because it is a 4 or 5 hour process. So some of our teachers aren't, everybody's very understanding that they may not get the vehicle they need in the timeframe that they needed on that day, so.
Do they inspect every vehicle or just spot?
Any vehicle that we use as a passenger vehicle, so 16 plus buses and 27 total vehicles that are inspected.
So that's all day.
Everything passed?
It's Friday.
It's
Friday.
the next
Oh, it is Friday, okay.
He'll let you know next week.
Thank you. Mr. Griswold,
So we had ITAC today, so I brought 3 teachers down with me.
you might explain what iTech is.
Yep, I will. I'm sorry. So it's a technology conference for educators in Iowa, as well as technology staff. Essentially, there's a vendor fair in the lower level. It's at Vets Stadium, I believe, down in Des Moines. And then there's sessions throughout the day that allow the teachers to not only network, but also listen to different topics of what's going on with technology in the classroom, how different teachers are using different platforms like Google. Anything you can think of tech is there. It's a great annual conference they have. So we had the privilege to bring 3 down, and I've got 1 that attended online as well. I actually sat in on a cybersecurity conference from a retired FBI agent. That absolutely terrified me. That's the world we live in today. So just kind of how you can harden your network and things he's seen. So really good experience for everybody. Brought back a lot of good ideas. Very grateful we had the opportunity to go to that. We'll go back again tomorrow. There's that much stuff, but it's a 2-day conference actually. We also had 3 students compete at ITech in an esports tournament. So they hosted. I was hosted by Bytespeed, who's a computer hardware vendor in Minnesota. So they put this on for any school that wanted to participate. So we had a Rocket League team go down. And the first game was really, really close. We went into overtime twice. We ended up losing 3-1. And then the second match they played, they got up 2-0. And from what Mr. Kinney says, they might have gotten a little cocky. They ended up blowing it 2-3. So they had an amazing experience. They hadn't actually played together for the last 3 months. So, and they're all sophomores, lots of promise, good group of kids, and really, really had a lot of fun, it sounds like. So that was exciting to see we could bring kids down actually in a competitive environment where people were watching. So the nerves were there. You could tell. It was awesome to see them, step up and perform that way. So really good experience for everybody on that end. We live streamed a couple events recently, 4th grade concert. I got a shout out to Gavin Vanderlinden in high school. He's been doing a lot of live streaming for me. Great student, does a brilliant job with all that. So, and then we did Grand March and had a really good viewing for the people that couldn't make it. The auditorium was packed, and we had well over 100 viewers online as well. So that was good for us also. And then we're preparing for Chromebooks already for the summer. We've got a bunch of devices that are, again, unfortunately, end of life. So this is the time when we got to start looking into how we're going to replace those, because with the COVID hardware shortage, if you will, we got to order those sooner rather than later so we can have them before the next year starts. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item D, fundraiser follow-up reports.
I don't know that you need to go through them one by one or anything, but they're there for you to look at. That I just reached out to everyone that had done a fundraiser that I hadn't heard from and got a really good response on bringing them back. So I'll probably do that every couple months if they haven't followed up to let us know what's due. They'd asked if they could do sponsorships, and they kind of got told maybe they shouldn't.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's supposed to be still looked at, correct?
Mhm.
By us?
I think you talked about that.
Yeah, we'll need to get that done.
All right. Item E, other reports or correspondence. Anybody have anything else? All right, now to new business. And what most people are here for, it looks like, school permit requests.
All right, I volunteered to take over for this one, so yay. So I'm just gonna kind of go in alphabetical order and just ask you kids one by one why you need a school permit. So you can talk for as short or as long as you want. So Marcus, you are a ball, so you get to go first because your name's first, so.
Hi, my name is Marcus Ball, and I want to apply to get my school permit.
And where will you go? Like, where do you need to drive for your school
I'll
permit?
go from home to school, school to home, and then my sports practices.
Okay, very good. Okay, next up, Adam.
I'm Adam Bills, and I'm requesting for a school permit. So I live 15 miles away and I do a lot of sports and we're a big family. So I drive to school and then go to sports activities after school and then go right back. And some days it could be I go to sports activities, then go to school, and then go to sports activities, then come back home.
Very good. Okay. Isaac.
My name is Isaac Carmen. I'm applying for a school permit. I go to and from school and then sports activities in the morning and after school.
Very good. Chris.
I want to get my school permit because it's going to be mainly used for farming. With the new Iowa bill passed, you have to get your school permit and then you can drive back and forth to the farm. My mom's really busy most of the time, has a full-time job, runs a Girl Scout troop, helps out in a lot of places where she can, has 12 grandkids. So life gets busy for her and she can't always run me where I need to go.
Very good. Awesome. Nick.
Type this up, might as well read it, I guess.
Yeah.
So my name is Nick Madsen. I'm 8th grade at the Greene County Middle School, and I'm here to request my school permit. So I live with my parents and siblings on an acre 7 miles south of town here. I do football, basketball, track, soccer, and baseball. I enjoy participating in all the sports, and I know that some of them require extra morning practice, participating in weightlifting and installs and stuff like that during the summer. Plus, going to these extra practices and lists raise your reputation with the coaches a little bit, which is very important to me. But most of them are before and after school hours. So my mom is director and a paramedic for the ambulance service here in town, and she works 2 to 3 24-hour shifts a week, sometimes more depending on how packed the schedule gets, and is not always available to drive me to and from lists, practices, and sometimes even school. And quite honestly, is not excited about bringing me into school at 6 a.m. She likes to sleep in most of the time. I'm sure you guys can relate. So,
I would like the school permit.
so but I work for Landis and Baird. That's a little further south. And during busy seasons, which is usually everything but winter, and then he's doing repairs, but usually starts at 6 a.m. And you can also have trains that require 16, 17 hours straight of just straight work. So I just, right now I'm hoping that one of them is available to give me a ride to and from wherever I need to go. And my sister's a freshman, but she has her own responsibilities as well, and the activities she participates in. And her and my schedule don't always collide very well, and she really isn't permitted to take me everywhere I need to go. So that's kind of an issue. And my hope is I can get a school permit so I can commit fully to all my sports and not just knick-knacky, just go there when I can and hope to get better at them. So thank you for considering my request.
Thank you. Ryland.
I'm Rylan Sigler. I'm a freshman and I'm also applying for a school permit so that way I can drive myself to school and go to lifting and track practice, as that is what is going on during this season right now.
Great, thank you. Okay, I'm just gonna highlight a few things. So what happens after this is you guys fill out this form, Steve will sign, then you can take it to the DOT, and then it's on you to get your school permit. So you need to make sure you're following all the laws and different things, and they'll tell you all those things when you go to do that. So I'm gonna highlight some of the key things that maybe kids break more often than not. So the main thing is that you are, student may drive without adult supervision between 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. So be careful of some of those later night games and practices, things like that. Drive to home and school or school-sponsored activities using the most direct route. Activities must be our school, so you can't drive to Glidden and then do that. Make sure you're in our district. TPing is not a school activity. You can stop for fuel on the route or to the closest fueling station. So you should be using about the same 1 or 2 gas stations every time. When you're driving without an adult, you can only carry 1 minor passenger that's not your relative. And if you have relatives, that's people that live in your house. So it's not your cousins or your nieces, nephews, whatever the situation is. It's just people living in your house. No electronic devices. So you should not need a Google map to get to practice in school. So there's no good excuse to be on your phone. So stay off of those. And if you violate it, you can get suspended or revoked, and a 6-month period starts where you have to have a clean driving record. So if you're almost 16 and you get caught, you're waiting longer to get your own license. So don't do that. Once your driver's ed is completed, you can bring that form in to the driver's license station and they'll get you guys your school permit. So be safe and be smart.
Good job,
Thank you.
Bonnie.
Yes.
And I used to say, yeah.
And good job, Bonnie.
And let's
She did a
record
good
that.
job explaining it.
The other-
It'll change every time. So.
Add one more thing to that. The other thing to remember
Yes.
is it's not just law enforcement watching you guys. We also have the same ability to revoke a permit if we see it being abused. So
But I know you guys won't do
keep
that.
that in the back of your mind. that There's more eyes out there than just the guys with lights on their car, so.
I'll add that to next month's speech. So, very good. Steve, do you want to take a minute to sign those now or just have them?
Actually, I think you need to approve it.
So we're gonna make a
Motion.
motion. So I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the 6 school permit requests that are listed here.
And I'll second.
All right, we have a motion to approve these 6
Congratulations.
permit requests in a second. Please call the roll.
McConnell.
Aye.
Fields.
Aye.
Domdash. Aye. Zobal.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye. And if they're filled out, we can sign them real quick. And then you can go on your way.
Just supporting when you guys. And thank you guys for coming to the school board meeting.
Responsibility, you guys remember that. And ladies.
The board, I'm like, if they.
We think next- we think
If they don't, it is good to have an application because it's a mile. He had a few. So Brenda, do you have one for Marcus really already? Yep. Yeah, I'll be done. Good job. Good.
There you go. Just put her name at the top. It's not ready to- yeah. Yeah, you too.
No, I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay, I see.
Since we didn't think to do it, since we didn't think about it.
Yes, thank you.
My daughter asked her, "I'm scared you want to grab a kid."
And most insurance companies make you add one.
You see?
Thank you, Haley. See you guys.
Follow the rules. Thank you.
See you guys later. Yeah. See you guys later. Take care. All right. There we go.
All right. Under new business, item B. Now we'll finalize superintendent contract.
The background check needed to be done to actually finalize it all, and so that's been done, everything was wonderful, yes. No laws broken.
So I have no questions and move to approve the contract as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the superintendent contract for the new incoming superintendent. Please call the roll.
Silva.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Fields.
Aye.
Dominic.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye. All right, item C, 2022-23 administrative and classified contracts.
Recommending administrative salaries, a total package of 3.68, which is a 3% increase on the salary. The rest is covered with insurance. Also increasing or recommending a 10% increase for Brenda Muir. Again, feel she deserves that. And again, with working with a new superintendent and everything, I believe that that's appropriate.
I have a comment on that. I was actually, when I haven't totally studied everyone's salaries in the past, I was surprised that she didn't make more than what she did. Is 10% significant enough?
Yes, it is. It is. I appreciate it. It's enough. But thank you.
But I just, it's a large role and we ask a lot. I was just kind of surprised it wasn't.
And you're coming from compared to other school districts, kind of, no? Or just in general?
What Brenda said is they vary from, they can be lower than her and they can be way higher than her. There isn't a very good, but the amount of, I think, pressure this role holds, I just think we need to always value that looking forward in the future. So thank you.
Classified wages, recommending 3.68 increase for wages, and then insurance increase would be on top of that. And then there's about 6 individuals that I'm recommending additional increase and some reasoning behind that. And take a look at. The other thing I'm recommending is putting a plan in place again where secretaries and associates in particular can take additional training throughout the year. And if they demonstrate implementation of that training, they would have opportunity to get incremental increases, 50 cents each time in order to increase their salaries. That's something that we've talked a lot about that we need to do. There's kind of a chart there, and want to develop a similar plan with custodians. Same thing, a performance-based with periodic reviews that they can have increases. Still working on that. Steve and Michelle, comments?
Yeah, Michelle and I sat down with Mr. Christensen and went over these, and it's a challenging employment market. And we've got to stay competitive and give people the incentive to also improve themselves at their jobs. So we felt these were all justified.
And really what it looks like to me on the associates, a $2 raise based on just attending 4 PD days that teachers already.
Much more than that. I mean,
Okay.
That's what I want to be very clear about.
Yeah.
It is attending, but then it's implementing that. And, we want our employees to be as good as possible and do the things that they need to do. So it's more than just.
Taking what they learn and implementing
Yes,
what,
and
yeah.
implementing.
So it's an educational for
Yes,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Who would be monitoring that success that they're actually implementing it? Is that more on the review side?
That would be a combination of Mrs. Sandberg, the principals would be involved in that as well.
Okay.
Their supervisors.
Because I'm always have been the one that I think if people earn it and deserve it, give it. But if they, I have a hard time just, everyone gets a 3% raise. Everyone gets this. So I like that.
So, do they have the opportunity to select which classes they take, or is it based on the needs that we have? Or
We're in the process. I think you're going to develop PD based on the needs that we have.
Right, for the parents.
okay.
And if someone chooses not to do it, we've got limited control over that. But then again, they would not benefit from the increase related to that.
Okay. Do you have people now that choose not to really?
Oh, we periodically offer professional development for associates on some of these days, and some choose not to come.
I did that a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Do they get paid to attend?
Yes, they get paid to attend.
Yeah.
Financially, will this, if we do this, is this a yearly thing we're gonna do this, or only for this next coming year, or?
To me, this is a program or in order to try to get people. I mean, they get a $2 raise, so it would not be yearly.
Okay,
It would
that's,
be try to get up, we're more competitive, and then.
okay.
Trying to meet the market right now.
Thank you.
All right, do we have a motion to approve these new administrative and classified contracts?
And would that include the potential increase based on, we want to put all of that in there? The 50-cent quarterly.
Yeah, I would like you to
Okay,
approve that one.
okay.
Yes.
Approve that, you just said with the custodians as well, correct? If they find that, they make that plan.
Do you envision that to be a 50%, 50 cent?
I would envision that to be
increase.
similar,
Similar,
yeah,
okay,
in
okay.
line with that, yes.
Then I would move to approve the administrative and classified salary recommendations with the increased plan as presented for classified and similar with custodians. Question mark at the end, sorry. I'll second that without the question mark at the end. Confident in saying that.
All right, we have a motion by Michelle, seconded by Bonnie to approve the 2022-23 contracts as expressed here. Please call the roll.
Davidic.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Silva.
Aye.
Fields.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye. All right, item D, fertilizer contracts.
Typically in the past, we put up bids for fertilizing our grounds here. This year being as everybody says, another COVID deal with the fertilizer prices jumping the way they had. I couldn't get anybody to give a bid. I spoke with Raccoon Valley. They locked in fertilizer at last year's price, which we had to do in late January to get last year's pricing on it. We did, there is a pretty significant increase in the price, but we did some things where we're not gonna fertilize some areas that have been fertilized in the past. We're gonna put a little more emphasis on our athletic fields to try to keep them in better shape. And, all of our lawns will be sprayed and taken care of. Our front lawns are gonna receive the fertilizer. Some of the areas that we don't use for activities are gonna not receive fertilizer this year, just to try to keep that dollar amount similar to what it's been in the past.
What about the field over at Junction?
We're currently using that for soccer. Last year, we didn't use it for any fall sports.
But this will be the last year we use it for soccer, won't we?
I would assume so.
Does it need fertilizer then?
It will for the first couple times, and I can work with Raccoon Valley on switching that over to, maybe an area that we're gonna use more like our current football field after we get our new sod in.
Well, we really don't have a plan what's gonna happen to that beyond this year, do we?
No.
So, yeah, I'm just curious, is it worth dumping more money into that field without, we may never use it again. I don't know, I'm just questioning.
Yeah, that's the thing that we need to understand is the amount of pressure that we are, we'll play 30-some baseball games this year on one field. And then we practice daily on that field. So we're not the Mariners or we're not a pro team, and I don't have 50 guys waiting to roll the tarps when it starts to sprinkle. So these are things that we need to put in our future thoughts about it. Are we going to continue to play this many games on one field? Do we need multiple fields? Same way with our future football, soccer field. If we're playing boys and girls soccer on the same field all spring, along with having track meets, trying to keep all that up to a safe level is going to be a challenge.
So what you're saying is there may be a future use of that field over there.
Could use it for practice.
I don't know.
It'll be up to.
Is it something I'm just asking questions. Is it something the district's even gonna want to maintain ownership of beyond this year? I don't know.
Who makes that decision? Is that us?
We would probably approve the decision,
Yeah.
but it would be made by the people involved, by the AD and the grounds people, and,
Okay.
they'd make a recommendation. But yeah, I was just, asking questions, I guess. Food for thought.
I can add that field over there is pretty beat up.
It never has been.
It's got some ruts in it. Nobody's fault. It's just the age of the field and the
Yeah.
turf, and
It's bumpy.
it's very bumpy.
Yeah.
And
That kind of goes back to the fact if you're going to have facilities, you have to maintain them at a certain level. We need to top dress fields. We need to aerate fields. We need.
No, I get everything else, Sean. I'm just saying that particular field, I'm questioning, that's a lot of space there, and if we don't need to spend money on it.
Right.
But apparently we don't have a plan what's gonna happen after this year either. And I'm not saying that's good or bad, I'm just wondering. So,
So we treat it like it's just gonna be used like it is and then
well, I don't know.
change our mind.
I think paring it down and maybe giving it the minimum amount of fertilizer would probably be a better plan. We save some money that way.
Bump it to the top, the first page, the
To
non-competition areas,
I don't know.
or,
I'm just asking.
yeah.
And if any of you, the west side of this building they use for recess, and it's been hit pretty hard. We're limited on, the old middle school, we had a large concrete area where the kids played. This building doesn't have something like that, so we've, you know, our back practice football field, girls soccer field is part of the playground, and that's been beat up pretty bad along with the west side of this building here, the grass over there, and it, you know, lack of anything, you know, I don't know whether we could eventually do recess in a parking lot or something like that, but it's hard on our ground, and we have 50 plus acres that we currently maintain with the lawnmower and fertilize and spray.
And I get that as a parent, I like that they're on grass and not on concrete.
Yeah.
So
The good thing is, it's nice to be on grass. The bad thing is we wind
It
up
wears.
tracking a lot of mud
I'm sure.
in the building, and, you know, we have extra hours from custodial staff that has to come in early to, you know, just deal with the mud part of it, so.
I can see that too.
Does that factor in the field over here not being fertilized for 2 months this summer yet? No, that was done before we voted renovation in, so. So that'll be look a little different too as well, so there may be probably some fertilizer that needs to go down before the sod. That may be in the bid with the renovating the field as well, so. I'm just curious, I knew we were gonna tear that out.
Oh,
Didn't want to double up the fertilizer costs if we're not gonna have any grass to put it on yet, so. Yeah. That starts right after track, correct? Yes. They resurface that. Yeah, hopefully, I haven't contacted them last week, but they were aiming to be here the day after the last track meet, so.
All right, thanks, Sean. So we need a motion to approve the fertilizer contracts.
Okay, so based on this conversation, then, do we have some changes that are gonna happen? Adjustments to the dollar amount because of the rehab on this?
There'll be changes. The dollar amount won't change. We will just allocate that fertilizer to a different
Location.
And we've done some of that in the past where we've had set something up as an athletic field, and then it winds up we don't use it, so we allocate and we move that fertilizer around. And Raccoon Valley's been very, very good to work with that way.
Well, I would say first, thank you for thinking to kind of pare down the areas, you know, that aren't as used to help save some money. That's good thinking. And then I will move to approve the fertilizer contract.
I'll second. All right. Got a motion by Michelle, seconded by John to approve the fertilizer contracts for this year. Please call the roll.
Silva.
Aye.
Dominic.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Fields.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye. All right, summer contracts, or projects, excuse me.
Looking at several things, need to update some switches for technology. We need to finish sprinkler system, fire sprinkler in this building over the course of the next two summers. So looking at the $134,000 one there. 2 new buses, and then updating security cameras at the elementary building.
Are the 2 new buses now the ones that have seatbelts?
Everything moving forward has to have
Have seatbelts?
Yes.
In the whole bunch.
Yes, yeah, everything has to have seatbelts.
The kids have to use them?
Basically, the way it's been presented, everything, you gotta basically say, you know, put on your seatbelt, but there's no, they can't walk every seat and verify that every kid's wearing their seatbelt or whether they.
There's not.
You know, Michelle, we laugh, but that's a good question, because what if a kid doesn't put it on and then, you know?
We have already approved the switches, correct?
He pulled that back.
And just a reminder with that, 70% of that will be reimbursed, so we pay 30% of that cost.
at the E-rate.
Okay.
I wish I could do the same with the cameras.
Is there any other sharing funds on any of this other equipment then, or is it all, none of it's ESSER, is it?
Not on this one, no.
No.
The next thing will be semester.
Right, but is this all just PEPAL then?
Yes.
Sales tax.
Sales tax.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to approve these summer projects?
Okay, quick question. The sprinkler system, are we doing the 2022 and the 2023 this year? Or that's just a?
We're just approving it.
You're approving it for next year also. Okay.
Those funds more.
I'm guessing we got a bid for both years. So I'll move to approve
Yes.
the summer project additions.
All right,
I move to approve the summer project additions.
Cindy's approved it. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Cindy approved and Bonnie seconded to approve the summer projects for 2022, 2023. Please call the roll.
Fields,
Aye.
McConnell,
Aye.
Silva,
Aye.
Dominic,
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye. All right.
Two of the buses can fail.
Now, the ESSER funded capital expenditures.
All right.
Then we've gotten approval from the Department of Education to use ESSER funds to replace heat pumps at the elementary. So we'd like to move forward with that. And that basically will replace all the heat pumps and
Just to replace all the original building.
okay.
There's still the 2007 area, which still has all the originals.
2007 would be the oldest ones we have remaining then. What's the life on those, Adam, typically?
We got 3 years out of these.
Good old-
So 28.
And again, these are federal funds that we will spend and then get reimbursed.
Have we spent ESSER funds so far? What's the timeline for, like, how long does it take for them to reimburse?
We can only claim quarterly.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and it's a process to do the claim. They want a lot of information.
We replaced the HVAC in the auditorium, we replaced HVAC in the office area, HVAC in the locker rooms, those are all ESSER funds. We replaced the cooling tower at the elementary, it was ESSER funds. We replaced a couple other heat pumps at the elementary. We did the flooring in the
Those are really worked to our advantage.
Yeah. Or excuse me, the flooring at the elementary, because we could replace carpet at one time because that, and so it's COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And then do we have the money, do we have actual money sitting that we can expend?
Yeah. Yep. Gotcha. We've got the cash flow to handle it until we get reimbursed, yes.
Once you submit the paperwork and.
About a month.
About a month usually. I'm just curious. All right, do we have a motion to approve the ESSER funded capital expenditures?
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, we have a motion by Bonnie, seconded by Michelle to approve the ESSER funded capital expenditures. Please call the roll.
McConnell,
Aye.
Dominic. Aye. Fields.
Aye.
Silva.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye. All right, other fundraiser requests.
Several requests there, one baseball and I think the others are FCCLA
Well, and actually we had another one in this morning.
for
Sean Thompson's.
elementary track meet,
Yep.
concession stand.
Oh. Did you see that in Greene? Oh. All right.
There was one with sponsorships actually, and I know we had talked about that, and I can maybe ask later on to, that we get a committee maybe for that, but one was, I mean, the sponsorships are only $50 to $100 per
That's all different.
group, and it's not as high, so I think that this is fine.
Is that a promotion?
I make a motion to approve fundraiser requests as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, Cindy has moved and Bonnie has seconded to approve the fundraiser request. Please call the roll.
Fields.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Silva.
Aye.
Savage.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye. Okay, board policy review, 208.2 through 209.4. And we have revisions.
Yeah, 208.8 is the policy I'd like to revise.
8.11, no.
208.8.
208.8. Okay, sorry.
And if you look at that whole list of, there is a, yeah, you
Suggestion.
can click on the
Oh,
one that
Because I
says
read that and then I
suggested.
went back.
Yeah,
out
I
to
didn't
that.
read the suggested.
I am definitely good with that revision. I did have a comment on 208.11. It has, sorry, it has underlines of blank amount of minutes
Yeah.
can be allowed, and I just don't,
We've never put those in there. You're right. I noticed that too.
so I don't know if
9
we
minutes.
need to put it in there, or if, I mean, is this coming from,
In general, I think a lot of that is dependent upon if there was 50 people that wanted to speak to a topic. If you had 5 minutes in there, then you're causing yourself
Several.
troubles. So I think it's more dependent upon how many people choose to speak to a topic that kind of leaves it open for the board chair to
can we just say, I mean,
explain that better.
in some way.
Okay.
And it just is, I mean, I don't care how long, it doesn't have to have the actual time frame, but just to say the board will use their discretion or just take it out.
I would concur.
The other thing was 208, 11A. It talks about the kind of to the concern of how the transfer, and there's a 10-day turnaround that you're supposed to wait before you go to the next person to the next person. My question is that something that is from the state and we have to follow that exact procedure? Because sometimes I think 10 days might be too long depending upon what the scenario is.
To me, it's 10 days from the standpoint they have that long. It doesn't mean they've got to wait that long.
Okay,
So,
It means do it in the first 10 days?
Yes.
Handle it
Yeah.
quick.
yes, you've got to
So a
appeal
parent
something.
should get it done within 10 days.
You've got to appeal
is what
within
it's
10 days. You don't have to
saying.
wait 10 days.
Okay.
I have to go back and read that. Hold on.
11, you said 11A?
208.11A. And I
Where do you
just-
see the 10-day part?
Take your concern. Okay, that's where it was.
Where do you see the 10 days?
It's channels are outlined after the
It's on that portion.
It's on the form portion. Bring the original complaint and 10 days agreement complaint.
Steve, can I ask a question here too? Can I ask a question about a policy, just about something that's kind of confusing?
Yeah, go ahead, Don.
I don't remember which policy it was. I was reading them all today, but at the bottom of your agenda, you have that a person can speak in the open forum if they get the permission of the chairman. But then in your policy, you say they can't speak in the open forum unless they have asked the board secretary ahead of time to be able to speak in the open forum. So that's really confusing to the public, because like I thought tonight when I came, I wouldn't be able to say anything because I had not spoken with Brenda and gotten on there. But it doesn't say that at the bottom of your agenda. It says anybody can speak with the chairman's approval. So
Where did you see that at?
it's in the bylaws. Yeah, I don't remember which policy it is, but it says you have to.
on the agenda to speak.
Yeah, you have to talk to the board secretary first, otherwise you can't speak at all, even in the open forum, and I never knew that was a rule. I thought you
I
could
didn't think that
always
was a
speak in
rule
the
either.
open forum.
And it has to be
get the
approved.
Permission, so you probably need to do something to have
Make sure it
consistency, because
matches.
it's not consistent, yeah.
But
Yeah, I
I think,
didn't,
I
I've
think
never seen that.
part of it's like if you want, like like you were talking, if you want to be listed on the agenda.
No,
But that's
Even
not what it
listed
says.
on the agenda, you
Yes.
have to
No,
have
this- yeah.
500 signatures.
Yeah, you have to have 500 signatures.
To get on the
That's-
agenda, you have to have 500
Or-
signatures.
Or 10% of the people who voted in the last election, right? So you'd have to have,
Voted in the last election.
who knows that number?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
either
You can
100 or
look
500
at
signatures is
the
a lot
auditor and ask them.
yeah, to get on an agenda.
Yeah, because even realistically, that'd be 150 signatures probably.
Exactly, and that will really keep people away from even bringing anything to you, to have to get
Yeah, I
a
don't-
million signatures, that doesn't even make sense, no, to get
No.
on your agenda.
Yeah, that needs to be,
Well,
Well, in an
Change.
open forum, you
That's-
can't mention names or topics.
I know, but why did they do that? I didn't know they'd done that.
yeah, I don't know, that's really confusing to the public, because nobody knows about that, they don't think they have to have
I'm
500
confused by
signatures
it
to
now.
come here and bring a concern, so that's shocking to the public.
So we maybe want to get a better clarification of
That was
open forum versus agenda item. Because I would agree that they were they
I
they're
think
kind of
we need to
blending.
table these, because this is all this,
Yeah,
this
I
is
do
the
too.
current section of,
Yeah.
of
I-
reading. Yeah, I think it needs to be redone at the next one if we can do that.
Do we
Motion
need
to table then.
do we need to consult?
Iowa, I think, school board.
That's where we got the
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah, I bet we
Yeah.
did.
I know, but it's confusing.
And they have a legal counsel that would tell us
Right,
why they have it the way they do or what we can change.
yeah, I think that needs to get cleared up.
And I
didn't
also think
realize-
it's on the
when did
the
this just change
interpretation of
just
it, because it
recently?
was, I
We-
agree.
We updated that policy at the beginning of the year because it was a legislative change
Okay.
that they allowed.
Yeah, it was on the
Yeah.
agenda.
Again, before it was the concept the board would have to approve putting something on the agenda. This policy, again, and that's part of the reason why the signatures and whether you like it or not, before that policy was in effect, the only way you could get an item on the board agenda is to have the board chair essentially say, we're gonna put it on the agenda.
Right.
Otherwise, it could be stonewalled forever. But with this policy, if you get the required number of signatures, no matter what it is, nobody on the board can say, no, you can't be on the agenda. It's on the agenda.
So there's two avenues to get on the
Correct.
agenda, get the signatures or ask the board chair.
Going
No.
through that process.
No, only 500 signatures. That's what you guys told me.
I'm gonna.
And I don't know what you were told.
I'm gonna
There,
ask-
there is a grievance process.
And I'm absolutely doing that. And I
Yeah.
haven't gone to social media to get that 500 signatures.
For this
But
section,
for me to be on the agenda, and this is an important issue that needs to be on the agenda.
Yeah.
You guys as a board aren't approachable with 500 signatures.
I
And
don't like
once
that.
this happens with anything, you're
When I
not gonna
think-
get parents that are supportive of you guys at all.
I
Once
think,
I have to go around and
Can
spend
I
my
speak
days
for a
with
second?
500
Well,
signatures,
but it'd be the same thing in every other school district too, Heather.
right, but
Correct,
that's what
but-
separates you guys. When you guys ask us as parents to be involved
No,
and get our
no,
kids
But
and
what
have
I'm
good
saying,
kids.
this isn't our decision not to ask you to be involved. This is a state,
correct, and
this is a
and-
state
and I get
mandate,
that.
I would
correct?
like to say two
But
things.
there are other grievances without 500 signatures that you
Doesn't it?
should be able to discuss with the
One,
board.
people, as far as coming to the board, even individuals, I mean, you can come to any one of us. That's always been, to me, people have. And sometimes I have to say, hey, but then the board's aware, and that's okay, because then I can go and say, hey, Tim, have you heard of this? And he can consult and go back to, so I don't think that's a bad thing. But at the same time, to
That's
get
not the grievance process that you're supposed to go through.
correct, if you, but I hear things from people that we are supposed to be the ears of the community as well.
So you want me to respect the rules, but not your boundaries. See, that's where as parents, we step back, because if I do, I could literally go out my side yard and have this discussion with Tim. But I respected that and didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't go. I have copies and everybody's sealed envelopes with
Does it
packets
say
for
that
everybody.
people can't-
One thing I'd like to clarify, and again, I
Petition the
apologize
board and get on the
for any of
agenda
this.
With the approval.
To me, there's about three different things.
Is that, the board can't do that
Hold on.
anymore? No.
Let's listen to, what are you saying?
There's about three different issues here. And again, I apologize for confusion, or if you got wrong information, again, I apologize. We're looking at three different things. there's one policy that we have, and I want to say that's 208.11.
Correct.
It's the one that's right up there.
Mhm.
That if a person has a complaint, again, we want people to go through the process as you started. And again, I apologize if it didn't work, but you go to the teacher, you ask, try to resolve the issue. If you don't get satisfaction there, you go to the building principal, is essentially the next level. You don't get a satisfaction there, then you meet with the superintendent. And if you don't get satisfaction there, then the next level is to address it.
Wait, that wasn't the process that you guys gave me.
And again, I apologize. Let me finish, because we're actually talking about two different things here. Because we're addressing yours in a different manner because of it. It's a reconsideration of instructional materials, that we actually have a board policy on how to go through that process. But what I'm saying is, if somebody's got a complaint, again, we want them to go through all of the levels. And if they don't receive satisfaction, again, I'm the last level, then they go to a board, and then it is up to the board chairman or board members. Again, you could talk to any of the board members, they would talk to the board chair, and it would be a decision of these people whether to put it on the board agenda or not, but no guarantee it's going to be on the board agenda. It would be a decision that they would make. That's the 208.11A. That's the one that we've always had.
So that has not changed.
Just a
No,
minute, let him
no.
keep talking.
That
He's gonna get-
has not changed. That's a policy that we've always had. So somebody can go up the levels, they don't get satisfaction, they can access the board agenda through that. So does that one make sense to people, whether you like it or not? But again, like I said before, there is no guarantee that you can use that avenue to get on the board agenda, because the board members may say, no, we're not going to listen to that. So last year, the legislature basically looked at this, and they wanted to have an avenue for parents, community members to guarantee they could get on the board agenda, even if board members didn't want that topic discussed. Masks may be the issue. So they put a vehicle in place where you have to get 10% signatures of 10% of in the last election, or 500, whichever is less or greater. And if you get that and present, you are on the board agenda. Nobody can stop you from being on the board agenda, and that topic can be discussed. There's other parameters on there. I don't think the board has to take action or anything of that nature, but that's the other avenue for a patron to get on the board agenda. Again, I apologize if you got wrong information, but what we're talking about, or what you're talking about, is a process. You've asked for materials to be, instructional materials to be reconsidered. So that's the process, and that's on the board policy.
But it's still a grievance, and I did do all the steps that you guys called me to do. I didn't, if you want me to respect what your office told me, your office.
And again, I apologize, and I'll take credit if you got the wrong information, but we've got an actual policy in every school district, because again, that's something else that the legislature is going through right now, because they talk about they're trying to get transparency bills passed, that if it gets passed, all curriculum, everything will have to be posted online. There's people saying that we don't need that, because every school district has a policy as well that's the reconsideration of instructional materials.
So the fact that I have an agreement with a teacher who doesn't have boundaries, that should have been brought in a different level. So my next step is, since I'm not getting anything from her, and you guys have both been in on every email and read the emails, and it's not gone any further. So my grievance isn't with the review curriculum. Now my grievance should be with you guys, and I take that where then?
You would talk to you talk to a board member. Again, what I have read, I believed was reconsideration of instructional materials. So if I interpreted that incorrectly.
No, I think it is, but I don't think you can have, I don't think as a parent, you go to a teacher and say, this is completely inappropriate, and not have a grievance with her either, who has completely blown me off.
Okay, why don't you talk to me after the meeting?
Absolutely.
And we'll get through this process and get it done the way it's supposed to get done.
And
Could I have one clarification
But yeah,
just one clarification.
Yeah, go ahead.
Am I understanding right, that it's up to the board on any issue, whether you need the 500 signatures or not?
No, it's not up to the board. It's up to the law says that if the board refuses you the access that you requested of the
Right,
board.
I got that,
Yeah.
but our board could say, we're not refusing you the access, Heather. We won't need the signatures.
Yeah.
Correct. Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just clarifying that she could go ahead with her stuff without the 500 signatures if
Which-
you guys agreed to that.
And it's not
Right.
500, it's 500 or 10%.
Well, or whatever.
So it could be 100.
She would not need any signatures
Right,
if
right.
you guys agreed to that.
Right.
And you have a board that is probably gonna agree to that.
Yeah, I don't know why we wouldn't
So
agree to
that's
it.
why
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
don't know.
sure why
I mean,
you
I've
guys
always
think
said on this board,
But we
didn't.
I
Okay.
just have a
So,
board that agrees
I
to
think,
that,
Heather,
because I
this-
did call your office to get on this, on the agenda.
I am the one that said I wasn't putting it on the agenda because we thought it was the
We
thing
felt it was
about
the reconsideration
instructional-
of instructional materials. Again, I
And we were
apologize.
trying to get that part done first before we got it to the board.
That's what I felt your issue was the
yeah.
instructional materials.
So
That's why
actually-
that's the direction that I went.
I
It's
wasn't trying to blow her off.
Well, and it's because you know that even exists. I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't either.
So,
I thought the grievance policy always was, and I've always
Okay.
said, the board is here to represent the people of the community.
But you're also judge
And-
and jury, so you have to be careful about that too. You can't
Yes.
solve problems starting at the top.
Right.
Because then you don't have it.
so if Heather wants to
But
be
part of
on
the
the
grievance
next.
process is they've got to bring it to a board member to get it on the agenda to be dealt
After
with.
they've tried other.
Can I make a suggestion at least? For this evening, for this purpose, I do think these policies need to be tabled. Because I do think
Yeah.
there needs to be further discussion and
Yeah.
discovery. I also
Yeah.
would propose to put together a committee to further investigate these policies and make sure that we all understand them as a board and as a community, and make sure that we have some type of communication that goes back out to the community to kind of, you can read a policy and they're hard to understand sometimes. Do it in the simple man's term, not the lawyer's term, and try to help people along so that everyone knows exactly what to do. And so that we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Is what I would
To
suggest.
clarify what they are, because I think the policies are correct. It's just that people are confused.
And
as-
how you
as
interpret.
how they're enacted.
You almost
Yeah.
need a flow chart. I have a complaint with this is what you do.
We do have that. We have the grievance
So,
policy,
just
and that
sharing
hasn't
it.
changed.
Right.
So
Right, but
I think the
it's not
confusion
well
here
understood.
is what the legislature did, which they were trying to actually open it up so there was more access for people if their board refused to
If
hear
the
their
board
grievance.
refused, that's the
Yeah,
whole
and
thing.
we're not refusing to
You've
hear
never
it.
refused those things
No,
before.
we're
That's
not
what I couldn't
refusing to hear it. I
understand.
want to
Right.
hear it.
We're hearing it.
So,
and
then is it a separate process if you're concerned about the educational material?
Again, I'll take blame that I misinterpreted. I took it as you were concerned about the instructional material.
I am.
But is it a
And
separate
that is,
process?
and I'm going
Or
through
sep-
that
Yeah.
process also.
I was not aware that you were concerned about the other. I apologize that.
Well, I think understanding that when you read her email back and she says, social media is gonna expose these kids to way more than my short stories ever will. That to me says that you have a teacher without boundaries, and that.
Heather, we'll deal with that
That's
when
not my,
we
that's,
get
that's
there.
not my
So,
interpretation.
But yeah,
And I don't want you walking across the lot to talk to me, but I would like you to walk in my office and.
Right, but that's what
And
I
I'd like
mean,
to-
I didn't go to any school board members out of that kind of respect, because I am following the rules, because I am trying to do what's right for us as a district.
But I would like to sit down and visit with you face to face in my office
Okay.
about the stuff. And again, that's the step I would like, and if you don't get satisfaction from me, then would be to board, but you're more than welcome to talk to Steve after the meeting. But I did misinterpret what avenue you were going for, and for that I apologize.
So we've got two different issues going on, the
No,
teacher's
it's one
response,
issue.
and
It's just
then the
wrapped up
material
together.
itself.
And again, that would be something you
How
need
seeing it
to,
as one.
that would be something you need to talk to her about, but.
That's confusing to the public though, because is the board, and Tim, are you saying then that if it's related to curriculum and instructional material,
You always have to have the signatures. Why is
No,
it not?
No,
It's nothing.
no.
There's a policy we have that's 605, I can't remember,
Right,
that is reconsideration of instructional material.
right, okay.
So if somebody objected to instructional material,
Right.
there's a form that's filled out,
Okay.
that's sent in. There's a committee made up of 3 school members, 3 community members, and 2 students.
So that's where you go to that committee.
Go to that
first
committee,
before the
they
board.
will look at that and they will meet and everything, and then they will make a recommendation to A, we don't like this curriculum, B, it's fine, or C, we need to modify or limit use. But that's a completely different avenue.
And then if you're not satisfied with the outcome of that committee, then you bring it to the board from there.
Theoretically, yes, you might still have a
Right,
complaint.
if you were not satisfied. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay, so back to our tabling
But
of the policies.
this isn't really reconsidering instructional material. This is reconsidering whether or not it's appropriate material.
Right.
But it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
It's reconsideration of instructional material.
And that would just ensure it's not a one-time thing, it's year after year, it would not be taught.
It is, and she says she's used it year after year.
It's a future thing, it's not just this one time, one parent, one student.
What's the
Yeah.
definition of instructional material? If it's just some teacher that's bringing something forward, is that's not approved? It's not been approved by the board. Is that considered to be
And I,
actual instructional material?
right,
I mean,
and
that's what I
I
don't.
do,
I mean, the board
I
is-
do not want to.
No, I don't want it.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the thing, but how do you approve something different if it's
Well,
never been approved in
okay,
the first place?
that's where hiring educational leaders, that was one of our number 1 goals for a superintendent. Educational leaders, that's where you go to your principal and you have that conversation. We probably will never need to know what teachers are teaching because they're taking care of it where they should, right? I mean, we'll know it because we hear our students talk about it. Right?
But if there's a complaint about it.
Then we'll get the grievance.
Then it goes through the
Right.
process.
Grievance process,
Exactly.
yeah,
Not,
but
not the, I mean, if we're
It
talking
goes
about
through the
instructional material,
instructional
it goes through
material.
the instructional material process.
That's the word I meant, not grievance. I knew what I was trying to say there. Well, we made this really complicated.
Correct, and that's where I still think we need to have after, I would like,
I would suggest we don't have work sessions, we have those within, I would suggest that that's a topic in that part. Because again,
That's a
I think
great
it's
idea.
wrong not to have the entire board involved in it, otherwise you're gonna start explaining stuff again.
Yeah.
So I would say in the reports, that
So-
becomes a kind of work session topic is these policies.
That's great. And can we add, just so that we remember, maybe looking at what we have at the bottom of the agenda and make sure that gels with what it says in the policy.
That'd be-
On it. So did we have a motion and a second to table the policies?
I so moved to table the policies.
Okay. I'll happily second. Second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to table this, and all in favor, please call the roll.
McConnell.
Aye.
Fields.
Aye.
Silva.
Aye.
Benedict.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
So then how do we, sorry. How, when
You had your
are we gonna,
opportunity.
we'll have a different time? Like next meeting, we'll,
Next
or
meeting,
how do we do,
next meeting, it will be a specific item in the
thank you, thank you.
reports and presentations that we will in-depth discuss that.
Okay.
And then theoretically, then if all would go well, later on in the agenda would be an opportunity to review them again and approve them.
Okay.
Based on the fact if you feel confident, everything makes sense.
Okay, gotcha.
All right,
Already a proven communication, guys. Good job.
I'm just glad I didn't skip the school board meeting.
Didn't off the dime.
that's interesting, yeah.
Way better than TV.
All right, last item on the new business is item I, 2020-21 financial audit.
So it's been filed with the Secretary of Treasury, Auditor's State, and you've got in your packet there the letter from the auditors that just summarizes it. The document itself is like 73 pages, and I think I sent that to all of you too. If anybody else wants an electronic copy, I can send it to you. But it wasn't too bad there. I mean, there's always a few comments at the bottom, things that can be improved.
Basically, the main thing is always the segregation of duties, which we get dinged on every year because we're a small district, correct?
Yeah.
What would they like to see instead?
I would tell you that what they want me to just sit around and watch everybody else do it. They do. They want me to oversee. Laura, you go to the bank. This other person we might hire, you're the one that opens the mail. You're the one, I mean, nobody's supposed to, like, no one should be the one that opens the mail, makes up the deposit, takes the deposit to the bank, comes back and puts it on the computer. One person isn't supposed to do all those things. Well, that's pretty tough when she's trying to pay bills and I'm trying to, you know.
We just don't have the staff to do that.
And we do shuffle it around. I mean, I don't do everything myself. Laura doesn't do anything. We've been getting Joel and Maury to help with more and more stuff too, but it never seems to be enough to make the auditors think it's enough.
But this has got to be a problem for every small district.
Yeah,
Correct?
it is.
Yeah.
I could see if you were the one person doing everything,
Yeah.
but you've got.
You're right, right,
yeah.
but it's not enough apparently, so.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion on the financial audit?
And it really doesn't mean any action. It's pretty much just,
Okay,
I'm just
well,
telling you it's information.
Our
It's done.
business
Thank you
office
for
does
having
a
it
very
complete.
good job, and I
Yes.
appreciate that, and thank you. Yeah. No action. All right. Superintendent's report.
I met with Chris Deal and Nate Adams here a couple weeks ago. They are still waiting on historic tax credits. I don't know what that looks like. But as we're waiting to find out from that, I would like to get some bids to remove asbestos as well as demo the admin building, just to have that information. Because I would like to, we need to move forward with one of the two this summer, so I would like to process that if, again, so I will be doing that, getting a couple bids.
When will that be vacant?
I believe, do we have any?
June? This summer.
June or
They should
July.
take care of it.
I think.
This summer, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you would know.
I don't know, because I'm not on the board, but June, there's.
We should ask
they're
Tom, huh?
tentative.
Yeah.
June is
I
their
think they
tentative.
want to be done with the building
I thought it was
late
June.
May, early June to be able to then move. So,
Yeah, I thought it was moving in July sometime. Last I heard.
then the other thing, we received a $25,000 bequest from Joan Jensen. Who was a 1952 graduate of Jefferson High School. I don't know, Mr. Moraine, is that a name that you recognize at all?
Nope.
But that probably wasn't her.
That wasn't her.
I don't know. I don't remember now.
Anderson. Yeah, Joan Anderson.
Jone, Joan.
But I would, Brenda and I have had some conversations. We would like to take that $25,000 and offer $5,000 grants to teachers. Open it up for them to make proposals for innovation in their classroom to do something. You know, whether it be technology related or what it may be. But, you know, again, just kind of try to promote the spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship within our teachers.
So there was no
stipulations on it.
no
no.
stipulations on money.
So if everybody is,
Could we almost make that a range, because I sometimes think when you put 5,000, then they feel like they have to ask that much, or do you think that?
I would say up to
Up
5,000.
to, yeah, up to 2 weeks.
And then who will be the evaluators of the grant?
You.
Us?
Let's just form another committee.
Probably administration.
Okay.
Do that. So,
Good.
but that's all I've got.
I was wondering, as far as maybe possibly getting a subcommittee, because we had talked about the sponsorship for activities of asking the businesses. And whether or not, that doesn't have to be all of us, but if we could have a smaller group.
Yes, I would like Mr. Gordon and you, I've got that on my list of to-dos,
Okay,
to meet, and maybe come up with a few other people to meet with in order to kind of outline some of those things that maybe moving forward.
Outline what?
In terms of fundraising.
Business sponsorships.
And what that all looks like, whether we've got a good system and sponsorships and, you know, whether we could, you know, again, the board's approving fundraisers throughout the year. Is there a better system of that again, once upon a time, the hope was to do it at the very beginning of the year, and then you couldn't do it again, but that hasn't materialized.
And not that it could be exactly like that, but I think some of the larger sponsorships, like if you're asking $5 or $10 or $1,000 from a company, not to, I know as a business owner, not because of Jamie, but my parents, they got bombarded growing up in a restaurant with nonstop.
It'd be nice to do it one time and then say, no,
And
don't.
just,
Don't come
we support
talk.
you. Hold on. And but the little things are different, big sales and
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. I
Thank
said that's
you.
on my list, I just haven't followed through.
No, we're good, thank you.
Would that be approved then by the board after they were made? Or just the team would decide and do it and do it?
I think it's developing a policy and see what that looks like again, whether it's, part of it's gonna be sponsorships and let everybody then needs to know that if somebody has a sponsorship, then they're off the list.
All right. All right. Is that it?
That's it.
All right, we'll